Well, thanks for joining me for this show and this discussion today. We have an excellent guest. I feel so privileged to have John Riley with us today, and he is going to give us some good information that we need for this good communication, de-escalation stuff. So let's get right to it and bring John in here with us. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hello, you and everyone.
Hey, thank you for so much for being here. And can you give us a little bit of information about your background, just so we know your perspective?
7 years in the military as an infantry grunt, went through Desert Storm, got out, became a police officer here in Grand Rapids, Michigan in 1996, and was road patrol night shift almost 20 years, retired in 2015, retired. Got out and really I actually had another job lined up as a charter pilot. I had got my pilot's license in the 80s when I was in high school, and was laser focused on doing that. Between 2012 and 2015 was training up, getting additional ratings, and one day in February 2016, church security at my church, I'm on staff and attend one of the mega churches here in West Michigan in Grand Rapids area. They calmly asked me, John, would you consider doing a de-escalation class for our security team? And I got to tell you, this is where I had what I would consider my road to Damascus experience, because it hit me like a lightning bolt, and I knew that I was going to drop everything that had anything to do with being a charter pilot. And I felt so strongly led, pulled, pushed to go down this road to teach conflict de-escalation, to teach, beginning with church personnel, how to more effectively and successfully de-escalate stressful confrontational situations. Because I have seen, and unfortunately continue to see, where good people, meaning well, unfortunately don't know what they don't know, and they end up being the ones who say or do things that escalate situations.
Yes.
And here we are 7 years later, going on 8 years. My team and I travel around the country. Not only do we work with churches, I am blessed to be able to work with law enforcement, other nonprofit organizations, business organizations, state agencies. It's been an absolute blessing. My heart remains with teaching faith-based organizations and all that, because again, that is where I've definitely seen some people meaning well, but end up saying and doing things that escalate situations. And that's from situations at my church.
Right.
And so here I am. Had a couple business cards made up, and here I am on your show.
That's awesome. Well, we're so glad you're here. And as you probably know, I'm sure that our community desperately needs training and good insight, especially in this area, to keep us out of trouble. So we're going to talk about 4 keys for the de-escalation. 4 keys to de-escalation today. So, I'm just so thankful to have your knowledge here and your experience here with us today. So let's just jump right into talking about those keys, your perspective and from your experience.
Number one, especially for my faith-based organizations, folks, you have got to have a ministry mindset. Boom, right off the bat. You've got to have a ministry mindset. Be empathetic to your fellow man. Recognize that the person you're dealing with, as little as it seems that they deserve it in the moment, they deserve and your love and empathy and so on, because they're another child of God, and they may be having a bad day. And I tell people, and I tell all my classes, there is not a single thing that any of these people are going through that you haven't in some way, some shape, at some point in your life. We've had disappointment, we've had heartbreak, we've had bills stack up. For crying out loud, we just went through COVID together. We've been there.
Yes.
You may have a better support system, you may have a better relationship with God, you may have better stress management skills, but doggone it, you've been there where this person's at. And unless you connect with them at that level, you're not going to be able to effectively change their behavior or effectively de-escalate that situation that you've found yourself into. So number one, that mindset, ministry mindset. Number 2, 3, and 4 actually are concepts that I teach in all my classes. Your ACE, your God-given ACE, ACE, your appearance, communication, and engagement. Appearance, basically, if you don't look like a threat to someone by your body posture, your facial expression, you're not likely to escalate the situation any more than they're at. And I try to tell people, look, de-escalating a situation doesn't happen like that. It's a process, and they're already upset. So as long as you don't say or do something with your, don't roll your eyes, you don't smirk, you don't, or square off on them, as long as you don't appear as a threat to them, they're not likely to get that much more upset. Therefore, you can begin the de-escalation process. So that's A. C, communication, the words you use, your tone of voice. As long as you don't sound like you're sarcastic, condescending, being rude, confrontational, that person that you're dealing with is not likely to get that much more, escalated. And then you can begin the de-escalation process. And then E, for engagement. Are you engaged in the moment? Are you making eye contact? Because we have all been in those situations where we're talking to somebody, maybe with our spouse, our kids, colleague, and they're not making eye contact with you. And you just feel in the back of your head, are you even listening to me? So someone who might be having a bad day already and they come up to try to talk to you and you don't make eye contact with them, you can be escalating the situation inadvertently. And that's where I'm saying where good people, meaning well, don't realize that they say or do things that could escalate a situation. So are you engaged in the moment? Are you listening? Active, reflective listening. Being empathetic. Are you affirming, validating, and so on? We just had a situation a couple months ago at my own church talking about eye contact. And this is where I teach people, you may not even be involved in the actual contact with somebody, but because they key into your body language and so on, you can inadvertently escalate a situation. So Joyce Meyer was at our church a few months ago and one of her weekend conferences. And after the show, there was somebody who was, and don't you know, there's someone who's offended about anything these days. There was a guy, right? There was a gentleman who was offended of all the cameras for Joyce Meyer, and I'm like, of course, and are you kidding me? It's Joyce Meyer. Do you not think there's going to be cameras around? But anyway, the guy was offended. And he was talking to one of our two-man security teams outside in the lobby. And this is how it was relayed to me. My buddy was telling me that his partner was talking to the gentleman, and he was standing offset. I teach these guys this contact and cover. We don't need to be shoulder to shoulder when talking to someone. So my buddy, about 10, 15 feet away, but obviously part of this two-man group, this individual realized that. So he's venting. My buddy was standing back, keeping an eye on the crowd. Everyone was leaving. And then all of a sudden the guy says, "Hey, you're not even listening to me, are you?" And he turned around and realized the guy was yelling at him. And he wasn't even part of the conversation in the first place. But this guy got that much more jacked up because my buddy wasn't paying attention to him. And that's how little things like that, little things. And I tell police officers this too, little things can become big things if you're not careful. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show, and we're all human. I didn't have it perfect. Right. Come on. I didn't have it perfect. All right. But more likely than not, I got it right because I was so aware of how I come across to people, keeping my own emotions in check in these stressful confrontations. It just stresses the importance of developing that self-discipline and self-awareness of where you are emotionally, mentally, and all that, so that you don't inadvertently say or do something that escalates the situation. So those really are the 4 key elements right there: a mindset, your appearance, your communication, and your engagement. And you put it all together and you have a little acronym, MACE. Pay attention to your MACE.
I like it. I like that, John. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Great information for our community. So we need that stuff. So that's great. So Tell me, John, then how can people get a hold of you for more information? And by the way, I saw some of your flying videos on
Yeah,
YouTube, so
yeah.
I like those.
I
But where
appreciate that.
can people get a hold of you to get more information, or maybe see about having you come and do some training with them?
You can find me on all the big major social media platforms. Facebook, just look up Gentle Response. Obviously, I'm on the internet. I have a web page, Gentle Response. I have a YouTube page. I've got enough of a footprint now that I think that if you just type in Gentle Response, I'm going to pop up. So
Okay.
Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
Great. We appreciate your time. Anything to add to today?
Oh
Any
my
final
gosh,
message?
folks, just if you don't remember anything else, just remember your mace and just maintain that ministry mindset. These people that you deal with, especially in a church environment, they're having a bad day, relate to them. Take a deep breath, slow yourself down, and don't automatically just assume that they're up to no good, because 9 times out of 10, and I try to tell people this, in 20 years, 100% of the stressful confrontational situations I dealt with did not require getting into a gunfight. Take a
Yes.
moment, slow yourself down, and recognize that this person simply may just needs to vent and need someone to listen and someone to say, you know what, you've come to the right place. God's here and we'll meet you where you're at.
That's awesome. That covers both bridges. I love that. I love that. I love that. So, well, thank you so much,
I
John, for
appreciate
being
it.
here with us. And I want to encourage you all to find out more information from John. Go seek him out. If you folks need some training and need some more input on your communication, that kind of stuff. And I also recommend, as we close up, that you take a look at this video to give you more information in your journey to get better educated on church security. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Yeah.